Okay, well this is my guitar setup and I wanted to show the wet and dry situation because I go out and play in bars and stuff, clubs, and I saw on the Sweetwater website they were giving away a Dream Wet Dry Wet rig, and I didn't know what that was, so I started looking into it. And it's where you come out in stereo with your wet effects or your modulating effects off to two separate amplifiers and use that for the ambient sound, and your dry sound comes through the main amp. And when you watch the videos on YouTube, the other videos on how to do this, they don't really go into very much how they set it up, and it looks pretty darn complicated once you do get it set up. And you can't always lug 3 amps to a gig. I can't. I mean, some of the places I play, there's barely enough room to stand on the stage. So the way I did it is I made this pedal board, first of all, from a it's a pedal pad from MKS. I believe it's MKS. And it had the metal or aluminum bars. It had a bar underneath in the middle with holes underneath it to route your cables. It was like a wooden bar, and then you had metal plates that would fit up there, and there were double plates and single plates, and they left enough room for you to put this in there, the pedal pad by MKS Power Pad 2, which when plugged in with the cord will power 8 different effects, and you know, with the power cords. And obviously I have more than 8 effects, so what I did is I took the metal plates off, I took that wooden bar out and left the hole underneath empty. Then I took a piece of wood, laid it across the top, you know, I measured it, cut it so it would fit. Then I put the hinge over here so that this whole side can lift up. And then I got room underneath it to put all my cords and stuff. And then for the power section, I took a Furman, which is a conditioned power strip. It sort of regulates the voltage in case there's any spikes wherever you're playing, or if the voltage is going up and down, it keeps it kind of normal. Also, it's supposed to be quieter and all that kind of stuff. And I took 2 eye spots, and each eye spot can hold or power 8 pedals, I believe. So I took each eye spot, I drilled the holes in the wood, came up with the eye spot plug where I wanted my pedals to be, and that way, and then I taped them to the underside of the wood so they wouldn't be all messy around. It left me 2 empty spots up here. The Furman power strip will actually hold 6, but because of the way the eye spots are, if I moved them all the way down, they pretty much cover up the on and off switch, which I want access to. It leaves me 2 open ones, and I usually use one for a fan while I'm playing, having a fan in front of me. And I'm sorry if my F's and my B's and my S's sound funny. I have a little bit of Bell's palsy going on with my face, so my F's sound a little funny. But anyway, the other nice thing about this Furman power strip is the cord that comes out of it. It's got to be, I'm guessing, 20 feet long at least. So far I've never had a problem putting my foot pedals in front of me on stage and having the cord reach to an available outlet, which is also really nice. Because a lot of times you just don't have the cord, you're running extension cords everywhere. So basically the way my setup works, it's set up right now for a dry, like just, you know, the pedals going into an amplifier, okay? So what I do is I go into this Morley ABC pedal, 99 bucks. I go into the input, I come out of A. I go straight into the tuner, which will mute everything when it's turned on. Then I go into a volume pedal, which I use for swells. And it's also a good, you know, real fast kick to just shut everything down so there's no noise. I come out of that and I go into this really cool little Moore wah pedal, which is, I guess is kind of new, but it's got a sensor in it, so when you step on it, see the little light come on over there by my foot? Now it's on, and as soon as I step off, no matter where it's at, it just shuts off automatically with the true bypass. So I go from the volume to the wah into my 3 overdrive pedals and then an equalizer pedal, okay? Now if you were doing wet, dry, wet, you would go straight out of the equalizer into your main amplifier. Well, what I'm doing is I have a longer cord that goes underneath this board. I route it from here, and it pops up over here and goes into the flanger, then the chorus, harmonizer, delay, and reverb. And then this just goes, you know, mono right out to my amp. Voila. Now that's my dry setup. So if I want to go wet dry or wet dry wet, it's very simple. I have an extra cord, and all I do is disengage the cord that hooks up the equalizer to the flanger. I take this one out, I plug in this cord here, and then I just put this in output B. Now, to my dry amplifier, I take this cord, unplug that cord that goes underneath to the flanger. Now, only my dry stuff coming out of A goes through the dry stuff and right to my center amp. Now, everything that comes out of B is going directly only into the wet effects, and I can take 1 or 2 chords and go to 1 or 2 amplifier. And here's the little setup I got for that. I got my Fender Hot Rod DeVille 212, and then I've got 2 little Fender Champ XDs, which they don't make anymore. They've replaced them with something else. So you can find those real cheap on eBay or Craigslist or whatever. I paid $150 for one, and I believe $170 for the other one. And they're tube amps. They got 16 different settings on them. So basically I've got the main amp set dry right now, no reverb, nothing like that. And then these two, I've got them both on the cleanest channel that they have, and it's all set up for wet, dry, wet right now. And so, depending on where I'm playing, if I can take this amp and maybe a Fender Blues Junior or something else, like a Crate 50, which are great, or any kind of PV little combo amp, and use that for the wet effects, I can do that. Or if if it's the kind of place where we're going to be in and out, we're only going to do one set or something like that, I'm only going to take 1 amp, then I just take 1 amp and I go back to the other way of setting up the foot pedals. And to do that, all I have to do is get rid of the 2 chords and go back into mono here, pick this one up, re-engage it over to the flanger by doing this, and then I don't even use B, and this cord goes right back underneath, and now I'm all instantly back to a dry system. No more having like these insane setups and all kinds of pedal boards for sending different things and all this kind of stuff. I mean, for me it works because it's a little bit of less is more, you know. I'm not on a giant tour where I've got all day to sit around and set all this stuff up and tear it all down and have complicated setups. And everything on there is a Boss pedal pretty much, except for the little wah. And I have enough room on there where I can swap out ones I need for different things. Sometimes I'm not always using the flanger or the wah. I'll put my Banshee 2 right there and use the mouth tube or whatever. And then when you're done, you just unplug your guitar over here. You unplug the output going to the amp here. One click shuts everything off. This thing pops up, latches on. You roll up the cord and put it underneath that board along with your guitar cord. You lock it all up and away you go. Simple as pie. And I don't know, from what I've seen from those other videos, this seems like the quickest, easiest way to kind of set that stuff up. I mean, it works for me. And, you know, you really do get that much more spatial sound when you go with the wet, dry, wet. But like I said, you don't always have the convenience or the time or the space on stage to bring 2 or 3 amplifiers. But if you do, as you can see, you literally unplug 2 cords and plug in 1 and you're done. So I kind of like the way this works. Hopefully that might help somebody or give somebody an idea. And yes, I realize, don't comment and tell me, why didn't you just put 1 hinge so the whole board can lift up? I know. I just wanted some more stability down there, and at the time when I was setting it up, I wasn't sure where I was going to put the power supply and stuff. But the power supply is velcroed down. All the cords are taped up there on the underneath, so it, you know, nothing can jiggle around when you're driving and transporting it back and forth. And this thing's built like a tank. This box by MKS, the pedal pad, you know, compared to some of the other stuff I look at where it's just like the aluminum rails and then it all goes inside of a gig bag. I mean, that's great, I suppose, for some people, but for me, I'd rather have this because I can, once I close that thing, I can throw that on the back seat and then throw 3 guitars and mic stands on top of it. I can stand on it, nothing's going to happen to it. But then I've looked at some of the newer ones they're coming out with, and they went with the whole hinged idea, which is, you know, I think it's really a good idea because you can get underneath real quick. You know, in case one of the eye spots ever goes bad, you can get right underneath there, open it up, and change whatever you got to change. And then also, if I'm playing an acoustic guitar, I can put that into C and just have that go straight out to an acoustic rig. So when I'm ready to, you know, play that acoustic song, I can just turn off A and B and step on C. And apparently what's also cool is this Morley pedal doesn't really even need to be powered. The only thing that the power does, if you turn it on, is the only thing it does is power the LED. So from what I understand, if you're only using one or the other, I mean, you wouldn't have any way to tell if it's on except for where the sound is coming out. But it doesn't have to be plugged in. Like if you're running short on power cables, it doesn't even actually have to be plugged in. And then, you know, with the wet, you could technically, I could plug in more of the double chords for all the pedals that have double chords and come out in more of a stereo sound. But really the last pedal is going to separate the sound anyway. So, I mean, this for me works good enough. You can certainly add those extra chords because almost all these pedals have A and B outputs and A and B inputs. So you are truly separating it to a left and right channel. But if not, the end one will certainly split it off to 2 channels and give you that wide ambient sound that you're looking for. So I use my equalizer pedal as a booster pedal for leads. I got it, you know, just the volume part of it cranked up just a little bit, so usually that's off when I'm playing. Comes time for a lead, just step on that just a hair louder. Sound guy doesn't have to worry about cranking you up at the right time. I don't know, I'm really happy with it. And I don't know, hopefully that'll give you a little help in deciding what you want to do. Maybe, I don't know. Give me a comment, tell me what you think. Thanks a lot, and jam on.